Okay, sorry about that. My phone rang, so it stopped the video. So here we go again. So you should be right with me, I would think. So let's see. We know then, because of the half, so right here in the middle, it would normally pass through 0. Now, remember, it's a decreasing function, but we're only going to go up a half here and down a half. That's what the 1/2 does. So it's going to look something like that. And then we're going to do the same thing here and repeat, and it's going to look something like that. All right, so this is another cotangent one, but look at this is a negative in front, so what that's going to do is reflect it. So what's actually going to do is it's going to take the cotangent, which normally goes like this, and it's going to flip it to go like that. So it's kind of going to look like a tangent function. Let's go ahead and let's factor out that 2. So theta plus pi force. I factor out the 2. So there's still no amplitude. The period is pi over b, which in this case is pi over 2. There's a phase shift of negative pi fourths, and there's no vertical shift for this one. Okay, so let's see. The period is pi halves. So we're going to go out 4, and that's going to be a pi halves there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, that's going to be a pi. So there's my 2 periods. Now half of pi halves is pi fourths. Half of pi fourths is pi eighths. So if I'm going to go ahead and finish these. So that's 1 pi eighths, 2 pi eighths, 3 pi eighths, 4 pi eighths, 5 pi eighths, 6 pi eighths, and 7 pi eighths. Now there's a negative pi fourth shift, so I'm going to go back here. That's 2 units I have to go back to get the whole pi fourths, which means I'm going to get rid of these right there. Okay. So remember, normally my first asymptote would be on the y-axis, but there's shifted 2 spaces. So I'm going to have an asymptote there, an asymptote there, an asymptote there. There's no vertical shift. So I know I'm going to have a 0 there. But again, because of the negative, it's not going to go down 1 to be a decreasing. It's actually going to go like this. So it looks just like the tangent graph. And there we go. We're not going to do that one. That's more difficult than anything you're going to have to do, and we've done a lot of graphing, and we're not done yet. Okay, so what we're going to do here is they're going to give you a picture, and you're going to have to come up with what the graph looks like. So up here, I have our 2 forms. They have the k in the beginning. That's how they put it. I like my plus k at the end. Your k is your vertical shift. So it's totally up to you, but I'm probably going to end up putting mine at the end, just so you know. I'm just more comfortable with it that way. So to be able to fill in that equation, we've got to find the amplitude, the period, the vertical shift, and the horizontal shift for each graph. Now, it says write the equation in terms of sine. And I believe for all of those, what makes it really hard is if there's a horizontal shift. I think for most of these, there is no horizontal shift. So that's going to help. So first of all, what I would do to find the amplitude is if I can draw a line right down the middle of the graph. See how it's down the middle? You go up 1 and you go down 1. That not only is going to tell us that our amplitude is 1, because you have up, down, up 1 and down 1. It also tells you that there is a vertical shift, because that's your vertical shift. It's actually a positive 2. So that's happened. So now we know that our A is going to be 1. Our K is going to be 2. Did I write plus or minus 2? I didn't mean that, just a positive 2. We need our B. Well, to find our B, it's the hardest part. That has to do with the period. So if you just look, and it doesn't really matter where you go, but if I kind of look here, see how if I go from here to here, then it's going to start going and repeating again. So from right here to here is the period. So in this case, my period is 2 pi. But now I need to find my b. Well, here's a little equation that you can use. You can do 2 pi over b equals, and then it's whatever the period is. In this case, it's 2 pi over 1. So if I cross multiply, I get 2 pi b equals 2 pi. And if I divide by 2 pi, I get that b is equal to 1. You could probably tell that by looking at it, though. Okay, so let's put that all together. So we're going to have y is equal to, my a is 1, sine. Now, sine starts, remember, at the origin, and the origin has been shifted up 2. So it's just going to be sine of theta, or x. Let's put theta. And then there's a vertical shift of 2, so it's simply plus 2. And there's the equation. All right, let's do this. Let's do this one down here, excuse me. All right, so again, it says to do it in terms of sine, and if you look, it goes through the origin right here, and here is our, we'll call it our midline. So that means that there's no vertical shift at all. My amplitude, because it goes up 1, so my amplitude is 1, and my A is also actually a positive 1 because it goes up first. So I have my K, or my vertical shift. I have my A. Now I'm going to need my B. Well, I'm going to take 2 pi over B and set it equal to. So let's figure out what the period is. Well, if we start here, you can see right here it begins to repeat itself. So from here to here, you can tell that that's pi. So it's 2 pi over b equals pi over 1. So 2 pi equals pi b. If I divide, I'm getting the b alone because that's what I'm trying to solve for. I'm going to get b is equal to 2. So I have everything that I need. So my equation will be y is equal to, again, 1 sine. My b is 2, so it's 2x. If you wanted to put x minus 0 here, that would be fine. There's a 0 phase shift, so you really don't need to do that, but if you wanted to, you could. And then there is no vertical shift, so that would be just plus 0. So if I simplify that, it's just sine 2x. Okay, I think you probably have the idea here, so we're not going to do the rest of these 4. How about if we go ahead and do D? Okay, so again, we are going in terms of sine. So if I draw my midline here, let's see, where's the middle? Well, if I go down to the lowest point, that's at -6, and it goes up to 2, so that's 8 spaces. So that means I'd have to go down 4, and it looks like my midline is right there, which means that there's a vertical shift of -2. So now here, because it's sine, there's like the new origin, so you can see that you're going to go up 4 and down 4. So that tells me that my A is 4. Now I just need my b. So if I take 2 pi over b and set it equal to, okay, so let's see, where does it begin to repeat? If I kind of start here, it begins to repeat right there. So the period is 2 pi. So you can see that your b is going to equal 1. So now we have everything we need. There's no phase shift. So it's going to be y is equal to 4 sine theta, no phase shift, but there's a vertical shift of -2. If you wanted to go ahead and do C on your own, I'm going to write the answer for you here. So there, go ahead and do it on your own. So if you notice for number 2, it has us doing it in terms of cosine. So let's just go ahead and do B. So it's basically the same thing. We want to go ahead and we want to find the midline. So let's see, this again goes from -6 up to 2, so that's 8 spaces. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like my midline is going to be right here. So I can tell that there's a vertical shift of -2 again. Okay, so now if I go ahead and look, I can tell that my A, now remember this is the new origin, it's starting up here, that's 4 spaces, so my A is actually 4, because you remember the cosine graph does not go through the origin, it starts up on the y-axis, so my A is 4. And then if I want to find my b, I'm going to take 2 pi over b and set it equal to, so okay, if I go from here, here's where it begins to repeat, so what's the distance from here to here? That's pi over 2. So 2 pi over b equals pi over 2. If I go ahead and cross multiply, b times pi equals 4 pi. If I divide by pi to solve for b, my b is going to equal 4. So now I have everything I need. So it's going to be y is equal to, my a is 4, so it's 4 cosine, my b is 4, so that means 4 theta, or x, and again there's no phase shift, and my vertical shift is a -2. And there you go. And that, my friends, is the end of our chapter 6.